Alright everyone, sorry I didn't do any videos this morning. I was a little busy with some stuff. But anyway, so it's day 10 of Star Trek, September 2016, and let's start things off with the Tholian Web. The Federation starship USS Enterprise enters an uncharted region of space while searching for her sister ship, the USS Defiant, which disappeared 3 weeks prior. Their sensors detect dimensional fractures in the area of space, which are draining power from all systems. They find the Defiant adrift, and Captain James T. Kirk, First Officer Spock, Chief Medical Officer Dr. McCoy, and Navigator Ensign Chugoff transport across, using environmental suits for protection. Aboard Defiant, they find the crew is dead, apparently having killed each other. Dun dun dun. The boarding party discovers that the Defiant is slowly dissolving as it enters an interdimensional rift. With limited transporter functionality due to the rift in the fabric of space-time, Kirk orders his men to return to Enterprise first. Beaming takes much longer than normal, and they are almost lost. As the transporter officer tries to beam Kirk aboard the Defiant, disappears, taking the captain with it. Uh-oh. Spock studies the sensors and believes that, because they had logged on to him before disappearing, Kirk will reappear when the rift experiences a spatial interface, though he knows that this will stretch the oxygen supply in Kirk's suit to the limit. While they wait, Chekhov starts to go mad, a symptom that Dr. McCoy believes is due to their proximity to the rift, as what happened to the Defiant's crew. McCoy urges Spock to move the Enterprise to safety, but Spock refuses, believing that movement will disrupt the interface, which would result in the loss of the captain. Yeah, we can't have that. With 2 hours to go before the next interface, the Enterprise is approached by a small, unfamiliar ship. Its captain, Commander Loskin of the Tholian Assembly, asserts that the Enterprise has violated Tholian space and must leave. Spock negotiates to get them the 2 hours until Kirk reappears, and then promises they will then leave. The Tholian moves away. When the 2 hours are up, Kirk does not appear. Spock determines that the Tholian ship disrupted the interface, and that Kirk may still be alive but in a different location. McCoy urges them to leave, believing that Kirk is dead. Before they can argue further, they are attacked by Loskin. Spock returns fire, disabling the Tholian ship but taking damage as well. Chief Engineer Scott warns that the damage from the Tholians, in addition to the power being siphoned off by the inner space, is causing the Enterprise to drift towards the rift, but he cannot guarantee he can hold their position. A second Tholian ship joins the first, and the two begin to create an energy web that cages the Enterprise. Spock determines if the web is completed, the energy field will destroy the Enterprise, but he insists on remaining to recover Captain Kirk. Amid further reports of crewmen going insane, Spock conducts a memorial service for Kirk. Spock and McCoy then view a tape left by Kirk meant to be played in the events of his death, which asks the two of them to work together for the benefit of the ship. Elsewhere, the crew report seeing ghostly images of Kirk. Eventually, this apparition appears to the bridge crew. Spock sees that Kirk is still in the environmental suit and appears to be telling them to leave. Now that he knows that Kirk is still alive and connected to the Enterprise, he is determined to log on to the captain on his next appearance and beam him back into his correct spatial dimension. With the Tholian Web nearly complete, McCoy devises a palliative to keep the crew sane, and Spock works to determine the time of Kirk's next appearance. They successfully lock on Kirk's coordinates. Spock, taking a risk, orders the ship into the spatial rift. They end up 2.7 parsecs away, well outside Tholian space. Kirk is still locked onto the Enterprise, and Lieutenant O'Neill, the transporter officer, is able to successfully beam him aboard just as his oxygen runs out. Phew! Kirk recovers quickly as the Enterprise returns to known space. He questions Spock and McCoy about their handling of the emergency, particularly concerning his final orders. Both of his friends assert that the intensity of the emergency was such that they hadn't had time to listen to them. While Captain Kirk accepts their answers, he seems just a little skeptical, considering the two of them are getting along amicably as opposed to their usual verbal sparring. Yeah, that's actually kind of true. Anyway, let's take a quick look at the sequel to this story. A 2-part episode set of Star Trek Enterprise called In a Mirror Darkly followed up the story and revealed what happened to the Defiant after it disappeared. It materialized in the past of the Mirror Universe before Kirk's time and was stolen by the Tholians of the Mirror Universe, only for the Terran Empire to then steal it from the Tholians. The dissolution and disappearance the ship experienced were apparently the process of it phasing through the anomaly it encountered. For the sequel, the Defiant Bridge, as seen in this episode, was recreated in precise detail. Even the positions of the dead crewmen were identical. That's cool. Now, time to look at the cultural impact of the story. In 1997, it became known that United States Customs investigators had used the name the Tholian Web for a technique for embroiling child porn enthusiasts in internet conversations to trick them into illegal activity. By 1997, it had triggered hundreds of prosecutions. In 2010, Jerry W. Bayer of the Texas Tech University School of Law cited a video recording introduced in this episode, which Captain Kirk, the captain of the Starship Enterprise, had left for his two most senior officers for them to play in the event of his death, urging them to overcome their personal animosity. Bayer described this fictional recording as one of the first recorded instances of what he called a video well. Political scientists have compared the metaphor of the entrapment in this episode with the deep challenges politicians and administrators feel when confronted with competing factions and lobby groups. Yeah, I'd say so. Well, a pretty interesting story overall. I give the Tholian Web 4 warp cores out of 5. Well, join me in a little bit as we meet Plato's stepchildren. So, until then, live long and prosper, everybody.